Welcome. Now, in this is the final part of our look at how to implement a crowdsourcing application on using the on the Cardano blockchain using Plutus programming language. Now, in the first video, in the first video, we defined what a campaign was and also some functions that would enable us to tell when it would be right for either the owner of the campaign to collect the money or the contributors to get a refund. Then in the second video, we wrote a validator function which would check, for example, if the owner tries to collect, that this we check if it is the owner, that they've succeeded in the campaign, and that it's in the right time to collect the money. Also, we also validated any refund transaction from contributors. And then we compiled our validated script. Now, in this final part, we're going to define the endpoints. Now, we have two endpoints. An endpoint to start the campaign, which is run by the campaign owner, and an endpoint for contributors. So let's start with the endpoint to start a campaign. The way this endpoint works is it will register a trigger to wait for the campaign's end date, and then collect the contributions if the funding target has been reached. So let's go ahead with that. Start campaign for monad wallet is the funding target, because the default currency is of course ADA. Okay. Then next we take a slot which represents the end date. The next argument is another slot which is the collection deadline. And of course it returns a monad wallet action. Okay, so start campaign TNC equals do. Sometimes this predictive texting is not very nice. Code completion is not very nice. Okay, so first we get the owner gets the public key. That's the public key, and creates a new campaign. Let campaign. Of course, equal to the key. Funding target equal to FT. End date equal to ED. Next, we'll log message. Oops. Starting. And then register once. This registers the trigger and the handler for it. Where trigger campaign event So what we're checking here is, has the funding target been reached? So we do funds at plus so the funds at the campaign address should be at least funding target campaign, the funding target campaign. Okay. Like this. Okay. And slot range T correction. So that's pretty simple. So first we check, has the funding target been reached? Has the funding target been reached? And it should be, let's put this as the end date reached. Okay, so this trigger will happen when the funds at the campaign address, yes, are at least the funding target of the campaign, and the deadline has passed. Okay, so that's the trigger. So when this happens, this is how we're going to handle it. We have handler campaign event handler. Handler campaign event handler log message campaign. And then collect from script. Collection. Validate the script. And in fact, what we can do is just inline that. We could do try for example make redeemer script, but I think it's just easy just to do redeemer script after lifted collect. Okay, yeah, I like that much better. Okay, we make validate the script. Of course, remember how that we have to compile it and all that stuff. So that one we use a help function for that, but for the redeem script, we just call it. Okay. Now, one thing we need to do is we use the function campaign address here, but we have to actually define it. And in fact, I think we can inline that as well, rather than do it, because in the book they do a separate function, but I'm going to inline it here because I think it's inline. It's just script address after make validate the script. Okay. Excellent. So like that, and that's it. That's our owner, and that's what that is done. So all our owner does is he set up a campaign. He creates the campaign value, and then he registers a trigger that when the script that the campaign is at least the funding target, he'll get an event, and when that happens, he'll just collect the money. No problem. Excellent. So we've done the endpoint for the owner. Now we need to do the endpoint for the contributors. This will allow them to contribute to a campaign, and it will also register a trigger that checks whether the collection deadline has been reached and the funds have not been collected by the owner, in which case the contribution is claimed. Okay, so we're going to call this contribute. So contribute takes a campaign, takes some data, and does as follows. First we'll log message. Contributing to show campaign. So then we get our own public key. The contributor get their own public key. Public key. Then let's do something interesting. We're going to use a function called pay2script. Now, function pay2script is a variant of pay2script underscore, which I think we've seen in earlier videos, which returns the created and submitted transaction. Okay, so to create this, to add to the blockchain, you have to define a define a transaction and submit it. So pay2script does that, but it actually gives us the transaction as well. Yes. Now we need this for our event handler. So to reclaim the funds from the right transaction output. Okay. Excellent. Alright, so let's get to work defining it, to using it. So we have transaction from pay to script default line okay, make data script. Well, okay, they define again they define a function make data script. It's a make data script key. Yes. So because when we we have to include the data script, which is of course. But I think I prefer to just inline it again. I think here it's better to just inline it as data script lifted contributor. Okay. So remember, we have to when we are paying, we have to identify ourselves, and we're using a public key, or we're wrapping that public key as a type contributor, so that we understand that is what so we don't get confused. So that's what happens here. So we pay money we want to pay, and then what we have to do next is register once, trigger, then handler transaction. Okay, this is where okay, we're going to use okay, we'll come back to that, where a trigger is an event trigger, and then the trigger is funds. Basically, are there any contributions to be claimed? Are there any contribution to be claimed? So we need to check if there are any contributions to the claim, and the way we do that is we check the funds at address should be funds at the campaign address should be greater should be greater than, should be strictly greater than, oh, it would be nice if we could just write 0, but we have to write MMT. Okay, and of course that it's time to, we are within the refund time. Yes? So basically the campaign has ended, the deadline has passed, and the funding target hasn't been reached, and the deadline for the owner to collect has passed. Refund range. Okay. So the fact deadline. Okay, so that's it. So when that's triggered, we now need a handler. So we have a handler which takes a transaction and returns an event handler. Yeah. And we have handler transaction equals event handler. And we do const do, and we let transaction ID equals, okay, hash t. So make sure we get the hash. That should be hash. Gotta get the hash transaction. Basically the hash of the transaction identifier with hash tx, and then the next thing is we're gonna log this. Log message. Claim contribution. And then we have to now, we're going to use a function called collect from script transaction. Now it's similar to collect from script, which we used above. Collect from script, because remember we used that with the owner. But additionally, it takes a transaction identifier, to only collect from script outputs created by the transaction with that identifier. Okay, so basically we're only going to collect our own contributions. We're not going to try and collect contributions that somebody else did. If we try to do that, then remember the validator would stop us. Okay, so that is full stop. Okay, so let's go ahead and call it collect script transaction. And then refund range campaign. Make validator script campaign, and then we're gonna make our redeemer script, and that's just redeemer script after release date. Refund. Alright. So that's of course, this is where we get to do we demand a refund. We get our refund. Okay. So remember, with the owner, it was redeemer script was collect, but for us, it's refund. Okay. And then finally, transaction ID. Okay, and that is it. All that we have to do in our last piece of business is just to do make functions. Basically, we compile, if you like, perhaps not the right word, but start campaign and contribute. Alright, and that's done. So let's compile that. Oh, ooh, we got an error. Pass error and input plus. Oh, that should be hiding. Oh, I don't know how the bracket got there. Hiding plus. Okay. And compile. Unexpected block. And start. Oh, let's go there. Start campaign. Why is it saying it's an unexpected block? Okay, just one moment. Let me pause and see if I can find out what's happening. Okay, welcome back. Wow, I've been doing a bit of rewriting because some things have changed between when the book was published and the current playground implementation, as someone actually warned me about yesterday. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the changes that I've made. They're not too many, but they are. The first major change is in the funding target. You'll notice that before we used the type ADA, but now we must use the type value. ADA isn't accepted. In fact, we can just get rid of that because I don't think that has any bearing on anything. Okay, so that has some because if you look at it, a lot of the time we were actually, when we had an eta value, we'd actually have to convert it to when we had eta, we had to convert it to value before we could use it. But we're just going to use value straight off the bat, so we don't have to do that conversion. Now, all these hopper functions, they stay the same. There's no problem. Of course, there is a change in the validator. Remember before we defined our own function, total input, and then we did all kinds of stuff, and we don't do any of that anymore. We just deleted that function and the from status script, that's all gone. Instead, we just use the function value spent. Yeah, and what we do is we say that the value spent in a transaction is at least the funding target of the campaign, which is actually much clearer about what's going on. Okay, so there's that. Then everything else, all this is the same, all this is the same, all this is the same. I was getting an error about you know, to do with, basically there was some incorrect indentation. That's why, if you just, you know, that's what the error was. And all this is the same. And well, what I did is I split out the trigger into its own function. Yeah, and it's okay. I mean, I could it works here, but I couldn't do the same for the handler. The reason is because the handler actually uses, and I'll uncomment this, it uses Molad wallet operations, you know, like log message and collect from script. So it has to be part, it has to be be able to get access to that. So it has to be you know, a sub function like of the start campaign function. It can't be its own function. So, but the trigger can be its own function because it doesn't use those. It doesn't use log message. It doesn't use collect script. So it's just a nice expression. Okay, and that's it. And then contribute stays the same. Again, there's no trouble. Again, the trigger is just an expression, and then again, the event handler does what it needs to do. So that is it. So now, when we compile, boom, we're ready to go. So okay, so we've got two wallets here, and now, okay, so what we're going to do is, let's see if we can actually run this. Alright, I'm just going to go to the book again just to see the order in which we can run this. Just bear with me. Okay, so you know what, this video is actually pretty long, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop it here, and then I'm going to do another one where we actually run things. Okay, so until next time, take care.